What's going on, champs and champets? It's FireMonkey here, and today I want to talk about the micro adjustments Epic Games has been making recently to the game. I don't know why I'm breaking this, but you know what, we're going to do it anyways, and why I think it's been very interesting to see them start treating Fortnite in this slightly altered light where they do these little changes to kind of get the community's opinion on stuff, or get their own internal feedback on stuff before they make permanent changes to the game. And I might be wondering, what do I mean by a micro adjustment? Now, of course, they've done hot fixes before where they're going ahead and, you know, unvaulting certain items, vaulting other items, doing all this type of stuff, and those aren't really what I'm talking about. Hotfixes happen all the time. They've happened for multiple chapters now. We all know what a hotfix is in Fortnite, them just kind of poofing something in or out of existence in the game. But what I'm talking about is these weird little adjustments they've made recently. The first one started with the actual summer event going live, which was them going ahead and actually making it so the ranked loot pool worked more like arena mode, where it was kind of split up. They disabled vehicles in it. They tried disabling nitro fists, but they were unable to, so they just kind of kept those enabled in ranked, even though they're not supposed to be. And they made these slight little micro adjustments here and there, you know, disabled NPCs, all that type of stuff, in order to kind of split it up from the core Fortnite Battle Royale experience we're all used to, and make it a slightly altered experience that maybe is good for the ranked play. Maybe it's not, right? It was a slight change that they were only going to have going on for around like a week or two to figure out how effective it was and if they wanted to keep it the way they did. And after that week or two actually ended, they went ahead and said, hey guys, we're actually going to keep this live until the end of the season, which then maybe as the season ends and we go into the next one, they'll end up adding a more permanent fixture to all of this stuff, and maybe they'll end up going back to the arena system where it had more of a split loot pool compared to what the core Battle Royale experience had, right? Because if we pay attention, you know, when we had ranked mode, or I guess not even ranked, but when we had arena mode, they went ahead and made it so that you had a whole entire split loot pool, and it was the same loot pool you had in tournaments. However, with arena mode, it is not the same loot pool as tournaments. You actually just get the loot pool you get in the normal game, with tournaments having their own little separated skill set already, which just makes things a lot more complicated when, let's say, there's a weapon with an exploit or something, and you have to say, hey guys, this was disabled in compete tab tournaments only, instead of being like, hey, this was disabled in ranked mode experiences. But after the ranked mode experience, they recently just ended a new experimental test they were doing recently, which actually relates to these guys right here, the actual slurp cactuses. So for 1 week, you may have noticed this, you may have not noticed it, depending on when you've been playing. If you hit a slurp cactus, it will explode and give you a little bit of shield and health, but they wouldn't regrow. Now, this was something that wasn't actually the way it was when the season started, because they would normally regrow out the whole entire time during the season. But for 1 week, they decided to experiment with it by disabling the regrow feature. Now that it's been re-enabled now, as you can see, but they went ahead and did that micro adjustment out of absolutely nowhere. They announced it and everything, so it wasn't like a slight, you know, hidden hotfix that they didn't want to tell anyone about. They did tell people about this, but they were just doing it as like a little bit of an experiment to figure out, hey, you know, we just did the ranked experiment, let's see how this experiment actually goes, see if people end up enjoying it this way, if they prefer it the old way or whatever else, see what data we can collect in order to kind of make a balanced experience for how we should end off the season and go into the future seasons of Fortnite with all these little changes, right? And these feel like changes that they would do on like a private test server or something else, you know, when they have QA testers around or something, but suddenly we ourselves have become the QA testers, even if we're unaware of it, right? It feels like they're doing these small little changes to just experiment with the live game, right? During the summertime and everyone's just kind of going to be vibing or whatever else, they're just experimenting to figure out what does work for them, what doesn't work, what data they can collect, and make the game a little bit more balanced here and there in ways that they may not fully know as of now how they want to have balanced. And honestly, I don't think that's a bad change. I don't think this is like a bad thing they're doing. I do think, however, it is very interesting to see it kind of just start happening out of the blue more often, because we typically haven't seen them do small little changes like this before, right? Sure, we've seen them modify weapons or items once in a while here and there to make some little balancing changes, but when it comes to doing a whole entire announced change for a single thing in the game that, you know, not everyone is using every game, not everyone is going over to the cactus plants every single game and hitting them for shield or whatever, that is when it starts feeling a lot more like this whole entire situation where you're like, huh, I wasn't really expecting this to go down. I wasn't really expecting them to do these things, but they have been doing it, and it's more shocking that they've been announcing it. And I want to hear in the comments down below, what do you think about these micro adjustments they've been making? What do you think about how they've been experimenting more with the community, even if it doesn't feel like it, even if it just feels like, oh, it's just a weird little change going on with the game? Do you think this is going to help the game be in a limelight a little bit later down the line, where everything kind of is a lot more balanced and, you know, has a lot more user feedback put into it? Or do you think this is them just kind of doing something differently just to try out something different, and maybe they'll stop doing it in like a month or two later down the line? Personally, for me though, I do think it's just interesting overall to see it kind of go down, regardless of what I care about, you know, in terms of, oh, look at this, they're changing a cactus, right? You know, that isn't really that much of a news topic. I do think it's interesting just to pay attention to more of the aspect of how Epic Games is reacting towards their community now, instead of just being like, oh, this change has randomly happened, right? Because in the past, we've seen it where there's just been a random change that kind of goes on out of absolutely nowhere, and people just kind of got to deal with it, right? You know, yeah, random change pops up out of nowhere, you just kind of log in, and half the time you don't even know about it because they won't announce it, and you find out through like a Fortnite leaker like me or someone else, whereas now, it's like a change is happening, you're aware of it because they're telling everyone what's actually going down here, and you're able to kind of adapt your gameplay style and try out new things with that knowledge already in your head. Now, of course, not everyone's going to know about it because not everyone is on social media 24/7. We're not all connected to Twitter, X, or whatever else, but it is still interesting just to kind of see it go down in general. With that said, however, yes, I kind of just yapped about a cactus change and a rank change for like 8 minutes, but I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, consider subscribing and support the content I create, and I'll catch you guys tomorrow with another upload on whatever we decide to talk about. So until then, peace out.